Hello, in this video I'm going to cover food and drinks in the Elder Scrolls Online, maybe in a little bit different way than you've had it covered before. This is going to be showing you how the stuff is organized when you go into the cooking fire station or wherever it is you're making your food or drinks. And this is going to simplify if you're on an alternate character or something like that, you need to make a specific type of food or drink. Maybe your character has a limited knowledge and you're wanting to find what is available on that character and where you can go to locate that. So when you come into the creation menu, the first tab is food, and then you have drinks, and then your furnishings. We're going to focus on these first two in this video because they are organized. It might look like it's kind of just kind of hodgepodge of things, but there is a rhyme to the reason here. So first section is called Meat Dishes, and if you hit your R2 button on PlayStation or the corresponding button on your platform, you can dart down to the next section, which is Fruit Dishes. And then if you hit the button again, it'll jump to the next section. It's kind of a tab button of sorts. Vegetable Dishes is the next one, and then the Savory, and then Ragout, Entremet, and then Gourmet. And then finally, the last section is Delicacies. Now, this is all in the food. So if you pay attention, I'm just going to go to the very top here. If you kind of look over at the what the food does, this is a max health food, and so is this next one and this next one. So this first section here is all of the maximum food, single component foods that this character knows. Green foods typically have just one component to them that they are buffing. So this is all of my max food buffs that I know how to, or excuse me, max health food buffs that I know how to make on this character. So the next section is all max magicka. The fruit dishes is all max magicka. The first section is meat dishes. Those are all health. And then the next section is fruit dishes, all max magicka. And these are all one component maximum magicka foods. Now there is a difference between how potent they are and how long they last, and that is based on the level of CP and how they scale. Most of them last pretty much the same amount of time, but the amount of maximum magicka is going to matter based on what CP level the food is. You can make lower CP level the food that you can consume. However, you can't consume for example, if you are leveling a character, you can't eat a banana moon sugar syrup because it is uh, scaling from the CP level. So you have to make sure that you have a food that you can eat. So make sure that is a common thing that you pay attention to. The next section is the vegetable dishes, and that is the maximum stamina section. And so why am I bringing this up? Well, if you are parsing on a character that's a stamina version, and you're wanting to make some of this hearty garlic corn chowder, which is an extremely common um, food to make for your daily crafting writs, for example, and maybe you don't know how to make it on that character, you could jump off to your main character and make some of this and throw it in your bank and whatnot. But if you don't want to do that, maybe check here in through your stuff, and maybe you've got something that's, like this one, for example, the Nord Warrior Potato Porridge. Not as much as the Hearty Corn Chowder, giving you 6,048, but this is not that far off. Maybe it'll, close the gap for you without having to jump off of a character. But this will make it so you can easily jump to the section and find out what's available to you on that character and see if there's anything that is workable, basically. So this vegetable dishes is all maximum stamina. Then the next section, the savories, is your maximum health and max magicka bi-stat food. So very common food in this section to use for people. There's a couple of them. There's the melon baked Parmesan pork, which, as you can see, just uses white meat, melon, and cheese. And then the same thing, basically does the same thing. It just requires different ingredients. and that would be the Solitude Millet Salmon, which takes millet, tomatoes, and fish. They essentially do the same exact thing, but maybe you know this recipe on your character, but not the melon baked Parmesan pork. Or perhaps maybe you're low on one of the ingredients, but you have a ton on the other. There's a lot of different reasons that you may need to just look around and find something else. But if you get within the section, and then you can just kind of, we'll get to the very bottom of it here. You can just watch over to the right and look for CP foods. So here's 160. This is the Solitude. Are there any other CP 160 foods in this section? There's the Minstrel Banana Mash, or excuse me, Minstrel Banana Bunny Hash. There's another one there. And then there's the Melon Baked Parmesan Pork. So as you can see, you can kind of just scroll through this and find out if there's any other CP 160 Max Health Max Magicka. Usually when people are looking for food, they're wanting specific components to them, and that's why I'm doing this video. The maximum stamina and max health section is the Ragout section. And so this is the same thing. You can kind of go through here. There's the braised rabbit and spring vegetables. This is a very common one, but there's also another one here called the garlic cod and potato crust. Again, depends on what ingredients you have a ton of. If maybe you've got more, so like I can make 18,000 of this one, whereas the braised rabbit I can make 19. So kind of close, but who knows? Maybe you've got a different situation on your account, and maybe you want to be able to just kind of keep your inventory up. Another one that's very common in this is the sticky pork and radish noodles. This does the same thing as those other two that we just covered. It just depends on what you've got available on your character and maybe what you've got available for your ingredients. You don't have to look for sticky pork noodles. If you've got a build video that you're watching and they call for sticky pork noodles, maybe you don't know this recipe and you're going, oh crap, now I got to go buy the recipe, or oh man, I don't have flour. Okay, well then come up here to the braised recipe, the braised rabbit. This one does not require flour. So this one does the exact same thing. It's not the sticky pork noodles, but it still gives you the same resources at the end, and it lasts for the same amount of time. So you can build this and get the same thing. So just covering that, so you can come in here and look and see what you have available on your characters, and you don't have to build the specific food that's listed. You can see if there's another one out there that does the same exact thing, because in a lot of cases there are more than one option. It just depends on what kind of inventory you have for the ingredients, or if you know the recipe or not. So the Entremet is the maximum magicka and maximum stamina food. I know probably a really niche situation here of where you want to have two resource stat pools that large without a health or a recovery of any kind. But if you're in that arena looking for that, there's not too many 160s in here. There's the late Hearthfire vegetable tart. Again, that one uses flour, so maybe you don't need or don't want to build that one. This one here, the grapes and ash yam falafel, probably the better choice because it doesn't use flour. I know flour is kind of a highly sought after ingredient, but grapes and ash yam would get you a good one there. That's an alternative to the other recipe that uses flour. Here's another one. The Savory radish salad with pumpkin seeds is a pumpkin radish and cheese ingredients. It again does max magicka and max stamina at a CP 160 level. So if you just kind of comb through the section like this, you can find other foods. Here's that's up into the stamina one. So basically that's what I'm trying to show you here in this video. You can find other stuff. Here's a capone tomato beet casserole. This is very common for master writs, for provisioning master writs. A lot of the 160 stuff in this section for the 3 component, it's a purple food. just like the jugged rabbit preserves here. This is a very common one for Master Ritz. So is the long fin pasty and melon sauce. But this is how you're going to find your components. You just have to think about what you need in a food and then go to that section to try and find it. The last section here is the delicacies, or what I kind of call food for everybody. There's no CP requirement on these. These are all, they don't have a CP level tag to them. The other thing is they are all a low level or no level food. So you don't have to have any crafting level on your provisioning. You can just make this as long as you learn the recipe and you have the ingredients. But this is where you're going to try and find if you've got a food that gives you something that's not from these other sections, such as a green food and then a bi-stat food or a tri-stat food that's in the same, like Max Magicka, Max Health. If you're looking for something that's a little odd, like a Max Health, a Max Health Magicka Recovery, then you want to come down to this delicacy area and find something that does that. This is where you're going to find the stuff that is a little bit more unique. There is a Max Health Max Magicka here, so it isn't just exclusive to these sections up here. There you can find stuff here, like for example, this is a Max Magicka food here. This one lasts longer, although if you're looking for a more max stat, the sanguine apples is not the way to go, because if you go here, you're going to get 5,600 from the apples. If you come up to the Max Magicka section in the fruit dishes, you're going to get 6,048 from tomato garlic chutney. So just be careful with which food you're making. Come down here and verify that the delicacy section doesn't actually have something in it that you know how to make and that actually gives you a better option. Sometimes the length of the food is more what you're looking for. Maybe you're just doing overland stuff and you don't need to maximize something. You're just looking for something that you don't have to babysit as much, but you just want some a little extra oomph on a health bar or some recovery. Maybe something down here is what you're looking for. But these do take a lot more ingredients, as you can see. They're a lot more robust of a recipe, especially the gold ones. So just be mindful of that. You don't want to be just burning through a bunch of Clockworks City fillets when you're doing overland stuff, because that requires perfect roe. Again, just be mindful of if you're following a build video that recommends this food, that is likely being intended for difficult content, such as a veteran trial or something like that. You don't want to burn through these high quality foods like this that require more difficult stuff to obtain, such as the perfect roe. The other one is the Orzoga's smoked bear. This also requires perfect roe, so make sure that you're paying attention to what ingredients are required in your food, and don't use something that it has a really difficult component just for kind of running around kind of stuff. I would try to find something that's a little bit easier to use. So let's get into the drinks, because these are very similar as well. The alcohol drinks at the very top are just like the food. Health is on top. These are all recoveries, by the way. Food is maximum stats. Drinks is recoveries for the most part. There are some exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, they are recovery based. They last pretty much the same amount of time as a food does, but you do have to make sure that the different components, for example, if you're in your skill tree and you go down to your provisioning, you want to make sure that your Connoisseur is filled in just like you would your Gourmand for your food, and make sure those are filled in. Also, in your green tree for your champion tree, your Rationer should be filled in completely so that your food and drink are extended by 30 minutes. Those are two things you want to make sure you have on at all times. on any build because it's going to make your food and your drink last longer. So let's get back into the drinks. The alcoholic drinks, again, are all health recovery. So if you're looking for a health recovery food only, and you're wanting to look at the biggest bang for your buck, you want to look for the CP160s, the Colovian ginger beer here. Very, very common recipe. I know this drops a lot in, I believe it's the Daily Crafting Ritz. So this one should be a really easy one to obtain. It gives you 660 health recovery. So keep that in mind. You can just comb through here and find another one. Here's the Zinger Matza drink here. This gives you, again, the 660 health recovery. And you can just watch and see what these require to build the food. For example, the ginger beer is just yeast and ginger. But then down here in the matza, this requires rice and metheglin. So maybe you've got more of those. Just pay attention to that when you're looking for foods and drinks. The next section is tea, and that is mag recovery section. Again, you're just going to want to look for the CP level or base level that you are, and you can find something that will work for you if you're just needing some mag recovery from your food or drink, or I should say from your drink. Mag recovery is mainly from the drinks. And then tonics is the next section for stam recovery. Again, if you're just looking for recovery on stamina, then this is the section for you. And then the Bistat, we've got health recovery and Magicka recovery in the liqueurs. And then the following section after that, the tinctures, is health recovery and stamina recovery. So if you have a situation where you're going, man, I just need health recovery and stam recovery, you need to come over here to the drinks and go to the tinctures and look through that and see what you need available for that section. The Cordial Teas is maximum Magicka and stamina recovery. So this is a bi-stat recovery for your offensive resources. And then we have Distillates for the 3 recoveries, which would be health recovery, mag recovery, and stam recovery. And then that's going to be potent based on what CP level it is. So again, these are probably a little bit more rare because purple ones don't drop as much. The Velothi vintage, again, is one of the common ones for doing master writs. So is the Senche Tiger single malt. Those are, anytime you see the CP160s down here in the purples, those are usually the ones that you need for the master writs. So keep in mind, if you see something like that in traders that is a purple Bistat drink or food and it is 160, it is probably for master writs. If you see a good price on it, you might want to grab it in case you want to try to do master writs on another character. Delicacies, this is pretty much like the Delicacies here. It's called the same thing in both tabs, so that's easy to remember. Again, these are level 1 or no level components, and they don't have a CP level either, so pretty much everybody can run these. So very common one in here is the Ghastly Eyeball for Magicka DPS or even healers. Or Zorga's Red Frothgar is a really good tank food. Cheap to make pretty much. You just have to have the clear water, is probably the most pain in the butt component to make that. But this is also where your Psijic Ambrosias will sit. Your vampire foods, your werewolf foods, all of that stuff is going to be right here. The Granny's Eel Pie is probably going to be a food over there in the other tab, but these are broths, and those are the location where these are. They do have a couple of purple ones down here, the Witch Mother's Potent Brew and the Party Punch. Those are the event foods. A lot of them are in here. Ghastly Eyeball comes from the Witches Festival, so do the 2 Witch Mothers foods. The delicacy section in the foods, there are Lava Foot soup drops from the New Life Festival at the end of the year in December. Crunchy Spider Skewers drops from the Witches Festival as well. Candied Jester Skulls obviously drops from the Jesters Festival. So keep an eye on what events are coming up. Maybe if you're missing one of these foods that are very common and potent, maybe you'll be able to find that in the event coming up. But I just wanted to do kind of an overview and how these are laid out in the tables here in case that's helpful for locating foods that you may or may not have access to. There are sometimes, in a lot of cases, there's more than one type of food that gives you the same buff. For example, if you're looking for a max health food that's a 160, you might have more than one, and so it might not be necessary to jump off your character because you don't have the garlic and pepper venison steak recipe. You could instead make possibly the little moth garlic hagfish that gives you the same thing. As you can see, they give 6,608 over 1.1 hours. So just wanted to kind of make a quick video that explains that. If this was a bit long for you, I do have chapters so you can jump around as always. But thank you again for watching, and I will see you in another video. Bye.